All right, so we had a pretty interesting day today. Now, you'd never think that considering the Dow just went up 39 points and that's it. I mean, that's literally, what is that? 0.17%. So, I mean, pretty much it's just flat. Nothing moved today overall on the Dow. If we look at NASDAQ, it was down 0.001%. So, I mean, it's like literally as flat as you can get. And yet we had a good day in our portfolio today. It wasn't anything jumped up really high. It's that we had some dominoes fall in our lap, just kind of the perfect way we'd want to look at it. So overall, looking at our portfolio, it's a mix of red and green, kind of half and half, what you'd expect to see for a pretty flat day. Although some things down here are pretty good, but the numbers again are pretty small. So one of the things that happened is we had a limit sell for Invesco Real Estate just because they were trending down and there's some risk on some of their investors bailing and that type of thing. So we were right at the cost basis point. So I think we were at 2.87. So I bought it for 2.88. I said, look, if it gets to 2.88, then we are pretty good to go, and I'll go ahead and sell it at that point. So that came through today. And immediately, and we want to look at this, immediately, oh, where is Invesco? It's at the bottom now because I don't have it in there. Immediately it went down to 2.75. So it was a really smart decision. We sold it at 2.88 and it went down right from there. So that was a very good decision on our part. Initially, and then we had a limit buy order for EVRI, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So before we do that, we went to our upside. Again, we entered all the prices in over here, sorted the upside by largest upside, and basically we have our top 10 list in a sense. Maybe not 10, but there's our top 10. So we have a couple things that we did. Let's see. We have a couple ones that are always up there. Yuko, which we have some good news for today. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Invesco, which we just got rid of for right now, and it's number 2, but we're just going to put that one on pause for right now. Redwood Trust we're looking at, MFA we're looking at. Again, nothing really happened with them for the most part, and they were, I think, 3 and 4 all week, so we're not going to touch that. GNC moved down only because their price went up to 0.46 from 0.43, so just kind of minimal. ERI we just bought, which is good. And so what I looked at here was the ones immediately following down were these 4. Azul, which is a British Airways company, Sasol, SSL, which does basically pulls things from the ground. So whether it's natural gas, anything that you're going to mine or pull from the ground, they work with. Norwegian Cruise Lines, which we'll talk about in a second, and Dave & Buster's, that's Play. So as you can see here, we put some limit orders in. And so one of the things that I looked at today, I wanted to take a look at the top 3, Azul, SSL, and Norwegian Cruise Lines. Based on their buy rating that we see here. So this is the percentage of analysts that Robinhood uses that say they want to buy from it. So Dave & Buster's came in and they're at a hold rating and they're moving up. They're moving up because their price is going down a little bit. So this is an opportunity. We'll look at that right now and it's creeping up, but it's not something that I really want to pull the trigger on now, mainly because we have better options. So we look at these 3, Azul, SSL, and Norwegian Cruise Lines, and I noticed that they had, Azul and Norwegian Cruise Lines had good buys. So right here, where they had good buy percentages, and Sasol was at 30. So, all right, so it's better than 0, so we'll take a look at that. So one of the things that I look at, and it's just, you can look anywhere you want, but this one I just like because it's easy to kind of get a good visual on where things stand, is we took a look at Yahoo Finance. So we pulled up Azul, and let me load these in here. And they have all the technicals in here that you can look at by all means. They have similar airlines that you'll see here, similar stocks that you'll see here, and then recommendations. Now this one I noticed that the strong buys in the last 3 to 4 months went from 2 to 3 to 2 to 1. So it's going down a little bit, but it's still there. But the holds have disappeared. So either they're not even saying anything and they're not interested enough to do anything, or I don't know what happened. But basically we have a strong buy and a buy. So from here, I'll show you the other one that we looked at. Let's go market watch. This is another one I just like their setup. So let's get in here. All right, so we'll go to Azul. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to scroll down, go to analyst estimates. And this one is the same thing. It has a really good visual. This one, you basically have light to dark 3 months ago, 1 month ago, 2 months ago. So these are, you basically had one buy and one hold and no buys 3 months ago. A month ago, which is when everything hit their bottom, there's the amount of holds went from 3 months ago, 1 month ago, and current, and then now the amount of buys went from 3 months ago, 1 month ago, and current. So we look at that, we compare it against Yahoo Finance, roughly the same thing, kind of the same story. So at that point, what we're going to do is we looked at that, and I thought, okay, well, it's got a pretty good rating, and Brazil has a president, President Bolsonaro in Brazil, who is probably the most proactive person in wanting to open up their economy. So if there's an opportunity for any country to open up their airlines first, it's probably going to be Brazil. So I thought, okay, well, not a big deal. Let's at least get a position on this and give ourselves an opportunity to get. And this has been a stock that I've looked at obviously for a while. So let's get an opportunity to get in on this. So the current price is 8.83, and we'll take a look at Azul. We'll open this up, and let's get SSL since we're here. All right. All right, so there's your 55% that we saw. Let's take a look at what they did today. So we're going to go into expand. Blah, 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 read there. And it got down to right in the top left, it got down to 8.77, and it's sitting at 8.33. So, all right, so we'll go back here. So what I decided to do was I said, okay, if it gets down to 8.75, which is not that big of a stretch, but I want to win this. I want to have a gain on it. I want to be able to dictate the price on it if I can. We'll put another about 1,300 into that. Now we looked at SSL, which is Sasol, and Sasol for those who are new to this. Oop. So they do provision of liquid fuels, chemicals, and low carbon electricity. So for the most part, just think natural gas for the most part is kind of what they do, and other liquid fuels. So we went to Sasol and under Yahoo Finance, and this one has ones across the board. So I was like, okay, well, that's good that they're all strong. The people who are strong buys are still strong buys, but there's not a whole lot of voices in there. So what we want to do is we'll go back to Market Watch, plug in SSL in the URL, and this one, your sells have gone down over time, your holds have gone up a little bit, overweight's kind of disappeared, and buys have gone down, but there's still buys on there a little bit. So at this point, we're looking at that and this, and the fact that in here we have 30% people saying want to buy. They're pretty well diversified. It's worth taking a shot at. So what we're going to do is, this is one that we've looked at for a while, so I decided to put a little bit on that as well. So which leaves Norwegian Cruise Lines, which is crazy because if you look at it, this is one of the first places I bought early on in the drop. And as such, I mean, they took kind of a hit. But one of the things that we're looking at right here is that prices continued to go down overall. So let's take a look at Norwegian. So go up to Norwegian. So we look at over the last 3 months, which is really the only relevant time period. That's the fall. Felt like there was hope coming up, and then it went down, but it seems like it wants to come up a little bit. But let's look at the big picture. This is a cruise line. They're probably not going to have a ton of revenues in the long haul. But you have this couple things in play. You have people who are pushing and holding protests to reopen the economy, which I think makes sense to a certain degree. You have elderly people that probably are scared to death, but at the same time, they want to enjoy their retirement. And then I was looking at Norwegian, and I'm like, all right, well, how well are they positioned? So I looked at their finances, and they basically have credit lines that they said they easily can get through the end of the year. It's not a big deal without doing anything else. But next year is where there's going to be some flexibility. So at this time, I looked at them, and I'm like, all right, what do people think about that? We have a lot of positive things in there, but then we have this subjective negative thing where it's like, how fast are people going to go on cruise lines? Maybe they'll go on short cruises, not long cruises. I mean, who knows? So what I decided to do is I wanted to look at, where is that at? We'll look at Norwegian Cruise Lines. And look at this. This is crazy. The amount of strong buys went 9, 8, 3 to 10. It exploded. And I'm like, that's a cacophony of views on that. So then I decided, all right, let's go to Market Watch, which is another one. They have a really nice visual. So we'll go Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings. That's what NCLH means. And we go down, and there's your visual. Went from no buys early on to a bunch of buys, and there's still a bunch of people saying buys, but there's nobody saying sell. I mean, look at this. Currently 10 buys, 7 holds, no sells. And it's listed as overweight, meaning that people need to put more of this stock as weighted in their portfolio. So if they have 20% in their portfolio, they really need to put 30 is really what overweight means. So overall, it's a buy, and it's a very significant buy. So I thought, well, cool, let's lower the cost. Let's lower the cost basis, which is our main thing we do here. So we have a cost basis of 26.18. And I thought, shoot, let's go ahead and put in, oh, I didn't even put that in there yet. I guess we're going to have to do that now. So let's go ahead and put in a limit order at 1075. So I'm not in a rush to get this stock, but if it drops a little bit, let's put a little bit of money in there, and we're going to weight it a little bit more than we did the other one. So 1075 and once. So we're going to do, so 1075, 150, current price. I'll do upside. Got to play with. Make sure we update the cells on here. And again, there is this document is actually on. There's a link inside the video notes. All right, so let's just even this out because I like it being even. All right, so let's add that in there. And all right, so then a couple other things, we'll wrap it up for today. So we looked at that, and then at the same time, I had noticed Menlo was sitting there too. This was one that they had a drug that kind of failed or whatever, a trial that failed, but the stock had been dropping, and yet it continually maintains an exceptional buy rating. So we already had a limit order for, I think it was at $1.15 for 500 shares. But the fact that this is coming up and moving up, this is kind of our hedge. It allows us to buy something that is a little less risky, but still provides a really good return. I thought, okay, fine. So we'll take a look at this. And so what we did for Menlo, Menlo's at the bottom. All right, no, we will, that's loading. So I had it for 115. I'm thinking, am I going to get it for 115 considering it's at 145? So I looked at the week, and it basically was trending. That's kind of your trend line. To pick an average right here is about 129. Possibly it could drop down. So maybe it goes down as far as 126. And I'm thinking I could get it at 115 here, but the trend line's going up. We narrow it down. It's going up a little bit more. And then it jumped here, and we see a consistent trend line. So 147. So I still want to win. So I thought, okay, if I can get it at I believe I had it at 130. Where is that at? Yeah, 130. Again, it's not a rush to do it, but if I can get it at 130 and take the down bump and buy it, that would be really cool. So we decided to increase that as well, bump it to, we took off 110 for 600. We put it 130 for 700. And let's see, D17. Yep, perfect. So it reduced our upside a little bit, but it gives us that opportunity. So with that being said, what else were we looking for? Oh, okay. So today we're back fully in the black. We had IVR, which was a little bit in the red. We got that back and made all of 0.03%. So, which is totally fine by me. I'm not too worried about that. We made our money back. And then PVAC is back in the black. So this one was about 3. It was down to like 2 something at some point. It's now up to 450. So we're back in the black on this. Again, they're well diversified. They do oil, but they also do water as well. So that really helps. And then UCO is coming back. This one was at 11. Now it's at 17. Again, I was tempted to put another buy in because it's really low, but I want to stick with the same rule that I gave you guys yesterday. Is I want to see it go to 25, and maybe if it goes to 21 or 22, I might be tempted back in there, but there's no rush to get in there. We have a tremendous upside for it, and we're pretty well weighted for this one anyway. So we are still slated to be at about 582%, coming up with about 140,000 when all is said and done. And tomorrow, let's take a look. I haven't even looked at this yet, so you're going to see it as I see it. So let's take a look at Dow futures. We're going to see kind of where it's trending. And again, this could change completely, but it's good to take a look at it now. All right, it's trending down a little bit. Again, totally flat for the most part. So our goal tomorrow, we'll take any gains that we have right here. By all means, I'll be happy to increase this percentage. And if it goes down, we got a tremendous amount of limit orders set up to try to reposition ourselves and be in a good spot. So we're going to be in a win-win situation no matter what happens tomorrow. Until then, I'll see you then.